Hello and kia ora and welcome to Ordinary Life with Kitty Fitton on Coast Access Radio 104.7 FM across Kapiti in Horowhenua in New Zealand. And this week I'm talking to the beautiful Mandy, who started to have terrible migraines after an awful fall down the stairs. So hello Mandy, thank you very much for coming along and talking to me this morning. And you've got something that some people just think is kind of, a lot of people think that what you have is not really a big deal or something, or it's a minor irritation. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you've come along to talk about?
I will. So many years ago, when I was working in the ANZ Bank in Palmerston North, I fell down the stairs. This is the start of everything. And I picked myself up and was bleeding a little bit, but didn't think anything of it. And after that time, that was way back in about 1989 or something. This is showing how old I am. So I, a day or two after I had that stair accident, I started to get headaches, and I didn't think anything of them, but they started to increase. And so at that point in time, I wasn't connecting anything apart from the pain being in my head. And I'd go off to various doctors and specialists, and they would say, well, that I get a brain scan and things like that. And I'd say, well, there's nothing wrong.
You're
getting headaches.
Take some paracetamol.
Take up a hobby, perhaps, take your mind off it. I was like, it's not a pain that's imagined. It's there all the time. But because you look fine on the outside, they can't see anything more than that. And because they can't see anything is wrong with you from a brain scan, from a medical point of view, there was nothing wrong.
So do they not show up on brain scans? Do headaches and migraines not show up?
No, not unless it's like a tumour or something.
Okay.
So I didn't have anything that they could ascertain was causing my headaches. It was around about that time I started to date Sean, which is Lisa's brother, and he said to me, have you ever been to a chiropractor? And I said no, and so he sent me along to his chiropractor.
Yeah. And
he was able to identify, so I'd seen several people and been given I think it was 500 Panadol by one doctor at this stage, but no cure for me. So then I went along to the chiropractor, had some x-rays. He said, I know where your problem is. It's right at the top of your neck. So C1, C2.
So he said it was like the bones at the top of your spine.
Yeah, bones at the top of the spine. So, and this was like a while I'd been trying everybody else, and he did some adjustments to my neck, cleared the headache. It was amazing.
Wow.
And these were really intense headaches. They're actually not termed migraines, they're termed cervicogenic because they come from the cervical spine, from the very top brainstem area. And I was over the moon until 2 days later when they started to come back again. Oh. And I'd go back to the chiropractor and he would clear them, and then it was great. And then that top area of my neck would go out again, and then I'm back. And my whole top, what they call the atlantoaxial area of the neck, is very, very unstable. Now, I've always had issues with hypermobility, which is, too much mobility in your joints.
All right, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm ignorant when it comes to medical things.
So I'd had issues with my knees, with my fingers and various other parts of my joints over the years, but I'd never attributed anything to the neck. However, when the chiropractor started doing the manipulation, because this was back in the day of chiropractors that would physically crunch your neck back into place.
Oh,
They don't, you know, I don't go to that type of chiropractor anymore. I do still go to the chiropractor, but ones that are much more gentle. He'd crunch my neck back into place, and then it would go out like a couple of days later. Back, go to the chiropractor, crunch again into my, you know, clear that headache, and then it would go out. And it was just that cycle.
Yeah, so you kept having to go back. Did they not?
Yeah. There was no cure because they said that you're so unstable in your neck that we can't physically hold the adjustments. Now, this is a problem I've been having for the last 27 odd years now.
So no exercises you could do with the physio or anything like that?
Yeah, tried all the exercises, but when you're hypermobile, you can exercise and exercise and exercise, but you really struggle to build strength up.
Right.
And so I've been on like this daily, so I worked out a regime of painkillers, as you do, that would work for me.
Yeah.
That I've been on for many, many years. and things like heat, you know, saunas and stuff like that, heat to relax the muscle tension that goes right up your neck and down your shoulders.
Yeah.
That helps, because anything that can keep those muscles loose and not and keep the neck straight.
Mobile, yeah.
You know, and these muscles are quite prominent in the front of my neck too, because you know, they're constantly working to keep my neck in place. So it's been like 27 years seeing pretty much everybody, and a daily cycle of Nurofen, Panadol and codeine, like every 4 hours.
Does your body build up any kind of resistance to it or not?
It hasn't really. Strangely enough, people do, and they get what's known as rebound headaches. I haven't ever had that. So I've had the odd time where I have done certain programs, like my husband, Sean, he was a Scientologist, so he put me into a what they call the purification program, and that's basically you sit in a sauna for 4 hours, and that sauna, that intense heat relaxes your muscles so much that I went 6 whole weeks without any painkillers, because I had those muscles constantly relaxed from the heat of the sauna, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I spent like, I think, 21 days doing the sauna treadmill vitamin program through Sean's Scientology Centre. And it actually worked for me, but once I went back to my normal life again, I didn't have that access to sitting in a sauna for 4 hours every day.
Yeah, so I mean, because it's still quite intensive on your life, isn't it? And it impacts.
Very. It impacts your life, because you have to work your life around your pain.
Yeah.
As you probably know, you've got to plan things ahead. So if somebody says, "Oh, let's go out to a concert or something at night," you know that cold air of being outside is going to make your neck cold and freeze up those muscles, and then you're going to end up with a massive headache.
Yeah.
Or you know that if you go into a crowded environment, regardless whether it's a party or whatever, that just the tension of, because I'm quite an introvert, the tension of being in such a space will cause enough tension to give you a headache, because it'll put your neck out, and that's that volatile.
So how do you manage to? I mean, like, did you have a job? How do you manage to function? And you mentioned you've got a son, and that must have been so difficult.
It is hard, because I work. I'm fortunate enough to work in back office jobs.
Yeah.
Ones where I can be at an office, sitting at a computer doing administration work, not having to deal with the public. And I can take breaks when I want to, because I work in a solicitor firm now, but I worked with Sean in a real estate office for several years, probably like over 20. I got my real estate license after Sean got his, but I always worked in the background. And I was always in jobs where I could be in the background, able to take breaks when I wanted to, not having to deal with the public, and have my supply of painkillers on me at all times, because I can't go anywhere without them. So they're always in my handbag, because you never know when you're going to have a flare up, you know?
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So around with a small army of bottles in my bag and stuff.
Yeah, bottles. Yeah, exactly. You've got to take them all the time. You've got to think, okay, I'm going away for a day. How much?
Well, even like last night, we went to the cinema and we went to go see the Barbie movie. Yeah.
Oh, was it good?
It was, it was great actually. And I mean, I've got two girls, and then my three of my kids came. My partner, his daughter came. So there were like a big pile of us. I convinced one of my friends to come along. We all dressed in pink. It was. I'm not actually a big fan of Barbie, but we went along, and the film was really good, with a great message, good, strong feminist message. But the point, I forgot to take my tablets with me. And we left at 5:30, which is when I usually take them.
Yeah.
And I'd just completely forgotten, with all the excitement and the pinkness and the, and we got there and we sat in the seats, and I just went, yeah. And I was okay, but I was struggling to walk when we came out, and I was a bit twitchy, and it wasn't very pleasant. But you just.
You do. You plan it around, and you always have to make sure that because I've been on various different types of migraine medications and things over the years, because the doctor, they just try you on everything they can, really, don't they? To try and alleviate your symptoms. And a lot of them didn't work for me, because, Topamax made me forget what I was going to say halfway through a conversation, for instance. And,
I do.
Medications have side effects. I eventually went off everything except for over-the-counter and prescription codeine. Because I couldn't function on amitriptyline, the antidepressant that helps with migraines and headaches in general. It was great, but I was, falling asleep all the time. It's like, well, I can't live my life if I'm going to have to go and have a sleep every half an hour because of this medication.
Some of my meds have side effects of sleepiness, and I'm really lucky. I've managed to work with some of them, and it doesn't affect me too badly. But I did go to the hospital last trip. They tried to put me on antidepressants, and I didn't want to go on them, not because I think they're a bad thing, but because, I'd need a pill to take with the pill because of side effects. And I just thought, you know what, I take so much already. I'm going to see if I can just go a bit longer. Because like you say, medicate. I do, but I'm very much a scientist, and I believe in the science and the medicine. You kind of have to when you have something like Parkinson's.
Yes.
But,
You do. You have to. I mean, you have to be like, this is my life now, and I've got to rely on this, in order to live. Because, the best life you can.
And I guess it's the same with you. With you have to find what works for you. So so what are you doing? Are you sitting in a sauna for 4 hours?
No, I'd love to be able to do that.
That sounded great.
It would be great, wouldn't it? No, so since I can't sit in a sauna for 4 hours every day, I go to the gym and I do that stuff, but it doesn't really do much, except maybe it might make me a bit stronger. So I have a 3 weekly chiropractor appointment every week, and they reduce my costs, because I have to come in, and because they're very understanding of my condition, I pay half of what a normal person would pay at going to the chiropractor.
Mm.
But I always go Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 every single week because I have to, and because it reduces the amount of pain relief that I will have to take.
So do you get any assistance with that? I mean, do you get any help or in recognition of the fact that you've, you know?
No, I've never claimed ACC. I've never had, and I think, I don't know if to go back and try and claim it now after all these years. I don't know whether, because right at the start I was just young and thought, I've fallen down the stairs, doesn't matter. I didn't realise
Right.
back then that I'd injured my neck to that severity that it would never come right again. And so, no, I've never really, I've just coped, because I've had, the chiropractors use very, very gentle, activator type thing to adjust my spine. So they're not the manual Gonstead type chiropractors that would physically crunch because they were no good for me. And that just,
it's an accident waiting to happen, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of think.
I know. And massage is good. So if you basically, if you go to the chiropractor, you get that, if I get like the top of my neck put back in, and then I get a massage of the neck and the shoulders, like a really intensive one, that works quite well, I've found. Yeah. It's just finding the time, and, it's quite expensive to do both all the time. So I try to fit those massages in of the neck and the shoulder after my chiropractor visits these days if I can, because it's beneficial to do both.
So are you still working as a real estate agent, or do you do that?
No, well, since Sean died, I let my real estate license lapse purposely, and I'm just working in admin in a solicitor's office instead.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, and it's back office again, so I can take breaks. It's casual work, so they're like, you do the hours that you want to do as long as we get the work done, and that suits me.
Yeah, that sounds ideal, really. Yeah, not having to be anywhere at a certain time, or
exactly. And if I'm having a bad day, I don't have to go in, and I can go in the afternoon or the next day, as long as I go in at some point, and get the work done. So it's great.
And how old were your children at the time? How old was you? Was that a problem, or?
No, well, Jesse's 22, so
right.
He's doing his own thing now. We both live on the same property, but I live in the sleep out, and Jesse lives in the house with the tenants, because since Sean died, we rented the house out, and the sleep out holds me and my, because I raise wild rabbits as a hobby.
Oh, wow.
I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years. I get given the orphaned wild rabbits and baby hares that people find on their lifestyle properties.
Yeah.
And I raise them and either keep them or work in with the wildlife centre to find homes for them.
Oh.
So that's just a hobby I do as a pastime, which is a little bit of a different type of hobby. But
it's quite a different thing in New Zealand, isn't it? Because now let's not open that can of worms.
Yeah. It's a little bit different. People look at me like, you're raising wild rabbits,
You'll be looking after hedgehogs next.
Yeah. I reckon.
Oh, blimey. Yeah. Oh, gosh. You're absolutely fascinating woman. Wow. So going forward, do you have a plan for how to deal with it, or?
I don't really. At the moment, I just live day by day, I guess, and some days are better than others. And because I've tried everything out there, you get to the point where you think, well, okay, I've tried everything. I'm just going to have to do the best I can and do my 3 weekly chiropractor for the rest of my life if I have to, with the massage in between that. Take the pills, even though you know that taking painkillers all the time might be bad for the liver and kidneys over time. But I've been doing it for 27 odd years now, with regular liver kidney checks. And so far, so good. I don't have really a long-term plan of how I'm, you know, I think this is just my life. And now that I'm 52, uh, losing my voice, I've kind of come to the conclusion that this is probably it, you know. There's probably no cure for me. It's just a case of managing it as best you can. And yeah.
So for the future, you plan on staying up there and just, like you say, getting on with it and raising your rabbits and
Yeah. And living a quiet life, I guess, because, you know, it does, when you've got a condition, it stops you from socializing to a degree because you don't want to exacerbate your symptoms.
I'll say, if you could get rid of it, what would you do if you could live a pain-free life without the migraines?
I would go places. Like, I'd go down to the South Island and I'd travel around and I'd be way more sociable than what I am.
You seem pretty sociable to me. Yeah, talking to me over, video.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think I'd just go visit people more, you know, go visit friends and I think I'd try things out, like maybe do a half marathon or, you know, things that you don't do because you know it's going to be detrimental if you do it. But if I didn't have this condition, I don't know, my life would have been completely different.
Yeah.
You know,
I do. Strangely.
Yeah, you do. So it's one of those things that you deal with and you think, oh, what if, you know.
What do you think when people say, oh, it's just a headache, or, you know.
Oh, yes.
You ever come across those people? Oh, come on, Mandy, you just drop some paracetamol, you'll be fine.
Yeah. You get it all the time, you know, and people give you all sorts of things that you should try, or they say, oh no, it's just
keto diet,
or, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Keto, or try paleo, or take one lady said to me to drink a glass of watermelon juice every day or something like that, and I thought, you know, they just don't get it. I mean, there's 1,000 different causes for headaches, but I know what mine are caused from. And drinking a glass of watermelon juice is not going to put my neck in and get rid of my headache. But you need,
you need to chop an onion up and put it in your sock. That's what you need to, because that will draw out the impurities in your sole of your foot. I love that one. I think that's my favourite.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh, there's so many different ones out there.
A couple of turmeric chai lattes and you'll just be fine.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not to say, I mean, there's nothing wrong with drinking a turmeric chai latte, but, you know, its healing properties are not quite as miraculous as people think, eh?
As people think, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they come up with all sorts of solutions for you.
Oh, gosh.
You learn to tolerate them because you think, well, you know, they just don't get it. So you just got to accept that people just see that you've got a headache and think it's minor, but what they don't realise is that you've had those headaches for so long and you have had to deal with them your way for so long. They only see the surface of what you're going through.
Do you have a message for them, those people who think you're just being a bit, you know?
Just, I don't know. What I would say to them is just maybe think before you speak, maybe be a bit more understanding that somebody that looks fine on the outside is often struggling quite a lot internally, and you can't see that.
Yeah.
And just be mindful that people that look okay are often not. But they might, I mean, you can see a broken leg or you can see a broken arm and you feel sorry for that person. But you can't see a migraine or you can't see an invisible illness that someone's going through. And they might look fine, but they might not be fine. They might be far from fine. So
that is so true. Yeah.
You know, you've got to be aware that people are going through stuff that, you know, and often comments just don't help. You know,
it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I think that's absolutely, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you.
It's been
And,
great talking to you.
yeah, thank you very much. Are there any final comments for the people on Coast Access Radio?
I think I can't think of anything else. Just, I don't know, just I guess, be aware that, that a lot of us are going through things that you can't see, and just, and be mindful of that.
I think that's a great message. Thank you very much, Mandy.
You're welcome. Nice to
Oh,
talk to you.
thank you very much for talking to us, Mandy. That was really interesting. And don't forget that if you've missed any of our previous shows, you can catch up either at Coast Access Radio on their website or at kittyfitton.com, where you'll also find my blog about living with early onset Parkinson's. That's kittyfitton.com or Coast Access Radio. And I will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you.
This program was made with assistance from New Zealand On Air for radio broadcast and through the accessmedia.org.nz website. Thank you, New Zealand On Air.